More than a third of American adults are obese, 17% of teens, and almost 9% of kids ages 2 to 5 years are obese. That's according to the CDC. Clearly, the United States has an obesity problem, and now Coca-Cola is funding research that says don't blame sugar. The group is promoting exercise, not calorie counting, as a key to preventing weight gain. Dr. Devi Nampiaparampil joins us now from NYU School of Medicine. First of all, they're not saying that there's no way that sugar's involved here. They're just not talking about the blame that sugar should have.
That's true.
And so in this case, is it proper to promote exercise as the end-all, be-all to avoiding obesity?
Well, we have to look at the results, right? So what will the effect be on the public? I think if we had more research on exercise, on the benefits of exercise and how it could help people, I mean, that would be a good thing, right? So we can't just ignore the diet part of it. But if you think about it just with exercise in general, it's a very underfunded area. We actually have research on it, but it's not the same as, let's say, new drugs or new devices. I mean, pharmaceutical companies fund their new products, right? Because they expect to get a profit. They have a patent on it. But since nobody owns exercise, the only people that really fund this type of research are the taxpayers. So if Coca-Cola will do it, I think that's, that could be helpful.
Is that dangerous when all across the board, we're seeing medical people trying to convince families to stay away from sugary drinks because it causes things like diabetes, even in children?
Sure. I mean, I think there are two different things, right? So the first thing is, of course, if you have the funder studying their own product, that's a potential problem. There could be bias. So the researchers really have to do their research independently of Coca-Cola. So they can't be designing studies the way Coca-Cola wants them to. They can't be reporting the results to Coca-Cola for their approval. They really need to do it independently. So that's one thing. The second thing is, what are they really studying? Are they studying exercise or are they studying the effect of diet?
But if their conclusion is that we're fat because we're not exercising, not because we're drinking 72 ounces of Coke a day, that's a problem, isn't it?
Well, that's a problem in terms of the company's stance, but the company is creating this institute or whatever independently, right? So I'm not saying that it is absolutely independent, but at least on the surface, they're saying this is an independent agency that's going to do the research. So if it is independent, then it doesn't really matter what Coke says or what Coke thinks. But if they're not independent and they really are an arm of Coke...
How do we as consumers know? Like, if we all of a sudden just hear doctors coming out and saying, you know what? It's not the fact that we're eating a lot of sugar. It's the fact that we're not exercising that's making us fat. Yes, we know we need more exercise, but the science on this is clear, right? It takes a lot of exercise to counteract one can of Coke.
Well, that's true, but let's say, so anybody can do a study, right? You don't have to be a doctor or a nutritionist. Anybody can do any kind of study. But in order to get it published or accepted in these scientific journals or peer-reviewed journals, it's supposed to go through other experts in your area. And they're supposed to look at not just what your conclusion is, but how you actually did the study. Does it make sense? Was it biased to begin with? It's the same way, let's say, the difference between a press release and a journalistic report. Somebody has critically reviewed what's going on before they present it to the public. So in that sense, sure, I think, Coke has its own agenda here. That's true. Why would they invest so much money in something that might go against, what they say? But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's automatically a bad thing for us.
By the way, a lot of these big junk food companies fund scientific research that ends up concluding that their product is better than what your family doctor might say. One thing, though, the New York Times article says that Coke is paying dietitians to promote Coke as a healthy snack.
That, I think, is inappropriate.
Can any dietitian possibly take money from Coke and do so ethically?
I don't know. I mean, to me, I can't think of really any strong scientific evidence that there are healthy benefits to Coke. I mean, maybe we can say that it's unhealthy, but in moderation, it might not be too bad, if you have a little bit here and there. But I can't really think of anything where Coca-Cola actually makes you healthier, has some beneficial effect.